right. So again, good evening. Thank you all for joining us for our December Phoenix Forum. It's entitled Learning Never Stops, Learning Through the Lifespan. We have our 4 speakers on with us here today. Megan Strelo, who is our Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Access and Success. Morgan Theobald, Coffran School of Business Graduate and Executive Education Recruiter. Patrick Neuenfeld, our Executive Manager for Dual Enrollment Services, and Heidi Yankee, Program Specialist for Lifelong Learning Institute. So hopefully I didn't mess up names or titles too bad there. But again, my name is Brian Raymer. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations here. Also alumnus class of 95, elementary education degree. Before we begin, just to have a few housekeeping notes again. Just know that it is recorded. So again, we will share this on our Phoenix Forum webpage for others to view. Secondly, we'll like to have all of our attendees, if you're able to, just mute yourself while we have the presentation going on. Obviously, there will be opportunities to ask questions throughout. So at that point, we can certainly have you unmute, or certainly you can utilize the chat box if you would so choose. As well, to be able to ask questions. At the end of the presentation, we'll certainly leave some time to have a formal question and answer if needed, but again, certainly can have that, and would love to have you keep the cameras on if you'd like. It's always good to be able to be engaged with our audience. So with that, again, we will go ahead and get started. So I'm going to turn it over to Megan, who is going to kick us off. So go ahead, Megan.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Brian, you and I have similar backgrounds, and maybe a similar background to Sarah, too. I was a teacher for 10 years before I started at the university, so also elementary education. So good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you. I'm Megan Strelo. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Access and Success. I've been at the university for 8.5 years now. Prior to that, I was a 5th grade teacher for 10 years. My role at the university has allowed me to work with learners from youth programming all the way through our current undergraduate students at the university. I oversee our dual enrollment program, so our high school programming to allow students to get a head start on college. I also work with our accelerated degree program, which is for adult learners who are coming back into higher education. And I also work on our success work at the university and helping students to be successful at their time at UW Green Bay. So I'm proud to be here tonight to moderate our panel. And so I'd like to invite our panel members to please introduce themselves, a little bit about their background and what they do at the university. So Patrick, why don't you go ahead first?
Yeah, for sure. Good evening. My name is Patrick Neuenfeld. I'm the Associate Director of Dual Enrollment Services. So Dual Enrollment Services is really, it serves high school students then taking college level coursework during their high school career, freshman through senior year. In our Dual Enrollment Services programs, we serve probably about 4,000 students in roughly 90 school districts throughout the state. And we serve those students then through our college credit and high school program, our early college credit program, and then our Dual Enrollment Access Academy. So that's a little bit about kind of what I do at the university. I've been with the university since April of 2021, so almost 2 years roughly, coming up on a 2-year mark. So my background has kind of always been in higher ed. I've worked in higher ed for a little bit over 15 years. My undergrad is in hospitality management, and then my master's is in education.
All right, thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, are you good? Do you have more?
I'm good. I was going to pass it, but I think that's your job. My apologies.
No worries. Morgan, go ahead.
All right, I am Morgan Theobald. I am the Graduate and Executive Education Coordinator with the Coffran School of Business here at UW Green Bay. I've been in my role since July, but I've been with UW Green Bay for 5 years now, a little over 5 years. I first was a, gosh, now I can't even remember what my title was, but I worked at the Green Bay One Stop Shop on campus, which works with primarily our undergraduate students in admissions, academic advising, financial aid, and the registrar's office, so registration and records and things like that. So I did that for a little over 3 years, 3.5 years-ish. Then I moved over to graduate studies as the first graduate recruiter that we've ever had. So Sarah on the call is our second, which is exciting. So we had never really recruited for graduate students before. It was all kind of just word of mouth and faculty recruiting for their own programs. We didn't really have any dedicated efforts to that. So had the pleasure of kind of heading that initiative up, and it's been successful. The graduate programs are growing, which is exciting. So we brought Sarah on board and I moved over to the Coffran School of Business. So I work with the graduate program specifically in that college. And then I also work with businesses to kind of help determine with our continuing education and community engagement office, what types of customized trainings folks need, non-credit certificates and things like that, which I know we'll talk a little bit about today. So I work both with the graduate students and then trying to figure out what programs we currently have that we can offer businesses, and then what businesses, are looking for that maybe we're missing in the market, and helping to develop some of those things. So my background is all in higher education as well. I am also a UW Green Bay alum, but I was communication and business, and then I did my master's degree in student affairs administration through La Crosse. So happy to be on the call. Back to you, Megan.
All right, thank you. And Heidi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heidi Yankee. I am the program specialist for our lifelong learning program here on campus. So my program is a membership-based program, mostly aimed at retirement age adults, simply because we offer classes during the day, all just for fun. No grades, no tests, no papers. That's our tagline. So it's a really, really fun group. My background, I actually was at an elementary school as well. I worked in elementary ed for 5 years before coming to campus here. So I worked with our youngest learners, and now I am working with our mature learners. So it is, they are a great group of people, very fun, very wonderful folks. So yeah, I'm happy to talk more about my program later. It's a really, really fun group. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So we're going to kind of talk generally about our topic tonight of Learning Never Stops, and then get into a little bit about what does it mean for UW Green Bay to educate youth all the way up to our mature adults, as Heidi would say. And so thinking first about why do we believe that learning is a lifelong endeavor? And at the university, it's embedded right into the university's mission. On our mission webpage, you can see a quote from our current chancellor, Michael Alexander, and it says, UWGB's mission and vision is to be a university that fearlessly meets challenges, solves problems, embraces diversity, cares about our region, and provides access to education for all who want it. Through these actions, we honor the innovative spirit of the founders of the university and move ourselves forward. When I think about that mission and what it means in terms of our programmatic offerings, what does it mean in the way that we conduct ourselves as a university, I think about the population of learners that we serve and how we serve them. Prior to our session beginning, we talked about the size of the university, and we talked about that we're nearing 10,000 students, and we've really been on an upward trajectory with our enrollment. When we look across all types of learning at the university, so those enrolled and earning college credit, but also those that are enrolled through programs like lifelong learning, through our continuing professional education program. We're looking at nearly 90,000 learners every year that UW Green Bay is serving. And we do that in so many different ways. Yes, we have the undergraduate and graduate programs that most people are familiar with, but we also do a great deal of youth programming and looking at camps and opportunities to have youth come out to our campus. We engage with high school students by giving them the opportunity to earn college credits in high school. We have credit and not-for-credit certificates. We have professional and career development. We have the Lifelong Learning Institute, and we even have a doctoral program, and I think we're going to have another one very soon. But it really shows the mission of the university to serve the community that we're in. And so for our panel members, if you could just talk about your program area and what does it mean for your area to support UWGB's mission? Morgan, do you want to start us off?
Sure, thank you. So I would say the thing that I talk about most in regards to our graduate programs is we as a university have had 4 or 5 graduate programs for a very long time. And that was kind of it. And so when we're thinking about how to best serve the needs of our communities, we found that many of our community, if they are looking for graduate degrees, are going elsewhere because we weren't offering those programs. So we have been growing exponentially in the Graduate Studies office. We're over 500 students in our graduate programs now. We have the First Nations Education Program, which is our doctoral program, helping serve more of our First Nations populations, which is really important to our region, obviously. And I think just being able to bring the expertise to our area and things like that come from some of our graduate programs really encapsulates the serving our community mission that we have. And then Megan, do you want me to talk about the certificates as well, the non-credit professional development certificates, or would you like Heidi to?
Sure, you can go ahead, Morgan. I'm sure Heidi
Okay.
can add on if she wants.
Super. So with, supporting our community and our region, that also comes with supporting the organizations that are within typically our 16 county footprint from Sheboygan to Marinette. Wow, I almost said Manitowoc. Sheboygan to Marinette. And so that looks different depending on the industry, depending on the size of the organization. So whether that is helping leaders rise throughout their organizations through either credit options or non-credit options, like our supervisory leadership certificate that is offered through the CECE office or continuing education and community engagement office. We offer customized training. So we work with organizations to offer whatever they're looking for. So for example, maybe they want some of their employees to learn Excel. Or different things like that. So being able to just be a university for everyone for whatever their needs are and trying to adjust and offer as much as possible to help the needs of the region and help the organizations grow and individuals within those organizations grow. That's kind of what my position is focused on in the offices that I work for. That was kind of long-winded, but I hope that covered everything.
Yeah. Patrick, when I think about, the age of the population that you're serving, it's very different. We're talking about Morgan and Heidi as the after college and after career or during career. And then on the other side, we have high school students who are brand new to higher education. How does that, on the complete other side, how does that support UWGB's mission?
Yeah, so I think when I think about dual enrollment services, I think about us embracing our mission, our mission and vision through meeting challenges, identifying solutions, creating access, and really responding to the needs of our partners, like our school district partners in particular. So for example, like through our college credit and high school program, students are able to then take courses while still in high school from their high school instructors who've been approved to teach a college level course then by our UW Green Bay academic departments, right? So that's a really great opportunity to kind of like start building some of those bridges, if you will, into higher education in general. Also, I think about then to our Dual Enrollment Access Academy, and we're able to offer online course offerings to high school students in districts that may have lost an approved instructor due to retirement, right? So again, kind of looking at our mission and vision, really meeting those challenges that a lot of our districts are experiencing, creating those opportunities for students, identifying solutions in some really creative ways often, and responding to the needs of our region, our partners, in innovative ways.
Yeah, for sure. And Heidi, I think about our lifelong learners, and I'm fortunate enough to work in the same office area as Heidi. And so, we are fortunate enough to have our lifelong learning volunteers staffing the front desk, and, to see, their engagement with the university has been so great. How does the Lifelong Learning Institute connect with UWGB's mission?
Yeah, I think that one of the coolest things about my program is everyone has a diverse background. Not all of my members have higher education. They, had a diverse employment throughout their lives. I mean, we have teachers, nurses, doctors, lawyers, customer service folks. Really, if you can dream it, our members have done it. They're a really diverse group. So I just think what's so cool is that if you want to learn at UW Green Bay, there is an opportunity for you. You don't have to be, college educated or something like that. You can really kind of start everywhere, whether it's through my program or through the certificates like Morgan was touching on. I just love that everyone is welcome, and it's a very welcoming space. And I think my lifelong learners really exemplify that, because many of them, did a certain thing in their career, whether they were, let's just say they were a nurse, but now they can come and take pottery and yoga and different classes like that are just for fun, but they're still learning and engaging, and it's great to have them on campus.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is so unique. And there was just a very recent story about a retiree in the community who signed up to audit a UW Green Bay photography class. And so he, had retired and thinking about what he was going to do. He decided photography was going to be it. And so he enrolled in a class. He audited it, which meant he was alongside the other college students, just not earning credit. But they were sharing how the class got together and celebrated his birthday, and it was just a very, very touching story. But Heidi, Morgan, thinking about the post-traditional time, how does something like auditing a class, as someone who maybe they don't need credit, they're not worried about any college credits, but just that idea of learning, how does an idea like that work? I mean, Morgan, I know you've done a lot of work with students who are looking to audit a class, but what does that look like, and how does it help support our community?
Yeah, and Heidi, feel free to chime in at any point here as well. The story that Megan is talking about, if you haven't seen it, we can link to it because it's a great story. I believe they were celebrating his 80th birthday, and so all the students are singing, and they had cake or cookies or something. Super, super made us all, when we were talking about it the other day, really proud to be a Phoenix. So I think, well, auditing, first of all, I can just kind of talk really briefly through what that looks like. So it is enrolling in a class alongside our degree-seeking students, but you're not earning credit. So there are discounted prices for them, I believe, and I can double check, but for senior citizens, at least when I worked at GBOS 2 years ago, I believe it was free. So anyone over the age of, I think it was 65, but I would have to look, are able to sign up for these classes if there's room in the classes to participate. And so we had a lot of people look to audit things like photography, like pottery, a lot of those types of more hands-on during the day classes. And now that I think of it, I don't even know if I knew about the Lifelong Learning Institute at the time. But I would say it's probably similar to that, only it's in that 14-week format, just like a normal class would be. So I think that the students specifically who want to audit classes are some of those folks who truly embody the lifelong learning idea. They want to continue learning, and sometimes it's a topic that they've never tried to dive into. We had one student who audited an accounting class. I don't know why you would ever want to do that personally, but he was like, it's something I never did. I never took an accounting class. And I just think it would be really interesting. And I believe he had a grandchild who was in high school who was struggling with math. And he was like, I know it's not really math, but like it's something I'm interested in learning more, and I want to be able to help him. And so he audited an accounting class. So it can really be with any of our courses that we offer. Some are more difficult than others, only because from a logistics standpoint, there's only so many seats in a class for safety purposes and things like that. But I think the point of auditing a class is that you can continue to learn and you can interact with other folks in your class. So I had folks who were in my classes that were auditors who brought an entirely different perspective to the discussions and the conversations that we had. So you had students who are 18, and then you have a student like this gentleman who's 80, right? And so they bring completely different perspectives to the different class interactions and things like that. And it's truly that students not only learn from their textbooks and their instructors, right, but they learn from the other students in the class. And so I think it's value added for everyone involved and not just the person auditing the class. Heidi, I don't know if you want to go more.
Yeah,
into that.
yeah, I would agree. I love the intergenerational opportunities. I actually had 3 different groups of communication and marketing students come interview me and my lifelong learning members this semester. They were doing some projects on different organizations on campus, and they decided to figure out more about lifelong learning. And it was so awesome and rewarding to see, they attended classes and they got to talk to my members, which for the traditional college student, my members are, their grandparents' age. So it was just really cool to see kind of the exchange of knowledge. The younger students were talking about technology and how they could help with registration and things like that. And my students were kind of sharing their perspectives. Like, for example, one of the classes they attended was they were making like puff pastry, but like by hand. So a very traditional technique that most of us just buy puff pastry in the store and we unthaw it and cook it. But so these younger students got to see this really cool process. And me myself, I actually just recently learned what tatting was. I did not know what tatting was. My members taught me about that. So it's a type of lace work that you make like by making knots. So it's just really cool that my members can learn from the younger students, learn the technology, things like that. And then the younger students can learn from my members. All of the knowledge and life experience that my members have is just so cool. And it's just so fun to see the interaction between them.
Yeah, that's great. Patrick, I think about our high school students who come into the university and they're alongside other college age students. And we had one student who was a junior in high school, so she was about 17, and she wanted to come. She was coming in doing her orientation for the program, and she only had one question, and the one question was, are there going to be old people in my class? And we said, well, yeah, there's learners of all ages, and it's a really great opportunity for you. We remind her of the question she asked because now for her, it's just totally normal. She's in her second year in the program and doing great. But Patrick, thinking about the work that the university does in engaging with high school students, we have 4,000 students a year that are high school students who are coming into the university and having the opportunity to earn college credits. What kind of benefits are there to programs like that for students, and how does it support the idea that learning is a lifelong endeavor and it never stops?
Yeah, so I definitely think the opportunity to earn college credit while still in high school, I think, consists of the ability to save money, accelerate time to completion of a degree, and really experience that college level rigor. In particular, I think about the college credit in high school program. So tuition is reduced then to $100 per credit, for example. So then a 3-credit course is $300 then for students. Which is a really great ability then to save some money, and then making coursework a little bit more accessible to high school students in particular. In terms of accelerating time to completion of a degree, students earning credits through any of our dual enrollment services programs, they'll receive that credit that they earn on a University of Wisconsin Green Bay transcript. Right, so then they can then take that transcript with that coursework to any other college or university that they wish to continue their academic career. Of course, how those credits transfer absolutely depends on the receiving institution, but we definitely have some great conversations with them about resources like Transferology, to kind of look at how those courses are then going to transfer, from one institution to the next, for example. So really kind of meeting the student, where they're at in high school and kind of thinking about their academic goals or where they want to go with their academic careers. So again, Transferology is a really great database that really kind of like identifies how courses will maybe then transfer from institution to institution. In those conversations, we may have some academic advising type conversations as well. I think ultimately our programs really supports the idea of lifelong learning by creating foundations and building bridges into institutions of higher education overall. I also think our dual enrollment programs promote attainability of credential. Whether a student is looking to achieve a certificate, an associate's degree, bachelor's degree, or even going on to graduate level degree coursework, I think high school is a really great place to begin that journey toward achieving academic goals and aspirations.
Yeah, for sure. I had the opportunity to talk with one of our students who earned her associate degree in high school. So she graduated from high school already having a college associate degree. She was enrolled through our Rising Phoenix program. She was an amazing student. She's currently at UW-Madison. She's studying psychology. And I had the opportunity to talk with her last week at a Board of Regents meeting for the University of Wisconsin system. And part of what she shared with me was that a program like Rising Phoenix allowed her to learn these skills that her friends don't know how to do. She started college having 2 years of experience. So her friends are nervous about, oh, how do I register for my classes? How do I find my advisor? And she said, I've already been doing this for 2 years. So she's here telling her friends how to do this. So she's, that's the other end of what they learn when they're in high school, is that idea of how do you do college? And that's where we're building bridges for students. It's college with guardrails. To really help students learn how to take advantage of the opportunity and to gain those skills and to really see themselves as being able to access college. And through our dual enrollment programs, we see that all over, of students getting the experience, getting a taste of college and understanding, hey, I can do this, and having that confidence in themselves. Our university, a huge percentage of our student body are considered first generation students, which means their parents don't have a college degree. And so these students aren't having the same conversations at home that maybe a student who has a parent that's already been through that experience. And so as much as we can help them acclimate to college by giving them the opportunity to learn during high school is really beneficial. So we think about, these different these different pieces of education and the different ways to learn at UW Green Bay. We've really taken a different approach to learning. Our chancellor, Michael Alexander, has really challenged us to think about higher education differently, to not be like every other post-secondary institution, to not think the same way, to not do the same things. And so, that different approach has really gone to show us that learning isn't one size fits all. It's not just one way. You don't just go to high school, then go to college, then get a job. There's so many different paths that people can take. How does the approach that learning isn't one size fits all? What does that do for our community? And how are your program areas looking at education differently than maybe you had, or your parents had, or even your grandparents had? Heidi, do you want to start us out?
Sure. So, in addition to lifelong learning, which is my program, my team also does a lot of continuing professional education. So, serving folks who maybe already have a degree or in a certain field and want to continue. So for example, we work with social workers who, are renewing their licensure and keeping up on up-to-date programs for that. We also have our Caregiver Academy, which is similar for our caregiving population here in Wisconsin. So that can be anything from helping folks who work in assisted livings to independent caregivers, to train people to train other caregivers. It's kind of confusing. Train the trainer, that is that program. So really, that's more for folks who are already in the workforce and who are, established in a certain area. So that's kind of a different way. We help those folks with our certificate programs also, which Morgan mentioned earlier, that can really be tailored to a business or a need. So you don't have to necessarily have a college degree to get the certificate or to learn something new. So I think that's really cool and unique. Because I know myself, I'm a first generation college student. I'm a proud daughter of dairy farmers. So shout out to my parents, but that's an aside. So I had no idea, going into this, and I know I don't work in this area, but seeing how they support our students across the board, different folks, it's wonderful to see, because, it shouldn't be an intimidating process. It should be that if you want to learn, if you have a desire, that you can do it. And I think UW Green Bay does that very well, above and beyond. And in my program specifically, like I said, my members are from all walks of life, all ages. I have members who are in their 50s. I have members in their 90s. And it's just amazing that, no matter what they did in life, here they can come. They have a place at the university where they feel welcome. So yeah, it's very cool.
Can I add something with the continuing professional development? So I know that Megan was just talking about high schoolers getting college credits while they're still in high school, and Patrick was discussing that as well. And on the flip side, with the job market the way it is, we're obviously seeing a lot of high schoolers going directly into the trades, or getting their associate's degree and then moving directly into the workforce. So being able to meet people where they're at there as well, and saying, if you don't want a college degree, that's okay. You can still learn and develop. And so maybe that is the Excel course that I talked about earlier. Maybe they just want to brush up on some skills with that. Maybe they want to be in a mentoring program. So maybe they want to either mentor a student who is in a college program, someone who's been in the workforce for 10 plus years, even if they didn't go to college. Maybe they want to be a mentor for someone who's looking to go into the same industry they're in. Maybe they want to complete the mentoring certificate, which is a non-credit certificate, and mentor someone else at their job. Maybe they want to learn about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we have certificates for that. So learning isn't always necessarily the topics that you expect from a school, right? It's not always math and science and English, right? It's things that you can use and apply today in your job. So if you move directly into the workforce, there are still ways to learn and to be able to apply that immediately and not have to go to school for 4 years, right? So I think we're learning to adjust that way. And we throw around the term micro-credentialing, so like little steps to getting there. So whether that's, you do a certificate first, and then maybe that brings you into a full degree program. We do that for graduate students. We have certificates that are like the first 4 classes you might take for your graduate degree, just to get a taste of what that might be like. And then if you really like it and you're doing well, you can continue on into the graduate degree program seamlessly. So just kind of saying, like, if you don't have to bite off, a huge chunk, right? You can do little nibbles and bite-sized pieces until you can kind of build your degree in the way that works best for you, or don't go to work and just embrace the continuing education mind and learning topics that you wouldn't typically learn in a degree program, like diversity, equity, and inclusion, or things like that. So I just wanted to add a little bit more generally. I work with a lot of people in manufacturing, so I think a lot about the trades and what they might want to learn, rather than going and doing a whole bachelor's degree, because maybe they don't need that. I feel like I'm really long-winded. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so I think Morgan and Heidi really covered that very beautifully, because I think in many, like the bite-sized component, right? Like I think that's an important aspect. So when I think about one size doesn't fit all, I think the first important component is really to embrace that mindset. That education is not a one size fits all. Particularly dual enrollment services, I think we really focus on relationships, relationship management, relationship development that we have with existing district partners. And then when engaging with potentially new district partners, we really look at how do we best serve students and partners in ways that best meets their needs, right? That is likely not going to be the what we consider to be the traditional models, right, of higher ed or education in general. Micro-credentialing, as Morgan mentioned, is definitely a way to, kind of have those stepping stones to achieving a goal. Oftentimes, the goal of a bachelor's degree or even a doctoral degree, for example, seems very overwhelming and sometimes unattainable. But if we break it down into smaller pieces, into bite-sized pieces, right? Like it's then a little bit more digestible, and that's a really, I think, beautiful thing and a meaningful thing to be able to approach that in a like I got this kind of perspective. Like I can do this. Like this is achievable.
Yeah, I agree. And thinking about learning isn't the same for everyone, and part of the role of the university is to help businesses to be able to train employees and think about what are their needs and how do they use the university in order to do that. Morgan and Heidi, you've done some work in this space, but what does it mean for these businesses who are asking for a customized training? What does that mean, and how are we? How is that helping them? What's in it for the business when they're looking at the opportunity to engage their employees in different types of learning?
Heidi, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
No, you can take it away because I know you work with these folks directly. So,
okay. So again, I'm a little bit newer in my role, so I'm going to talk about it from the perspective in which I have so far meeting with businesses. So I think that when we say customized training, it could be a program that we already offer, that we just have to kind of steer organizations to, right? So maybe they have some folks in their organization who are really strong workers who they want to upscale and keep and retain. We know right now with the job market the way it is, it's really hard to A, attract talent, and B, retain the talent, right? So how can we take the people that are in our organization, those great people that we have already, and keep them. And a lot of times that is giving them more opportunity, challenging them, offering them something that, you know, maybe they wouldn't go do on their own. So maybe that is something like a supervisory training, supervisory leadership, for example. Maybe it looks more like, I'm trying to think of some of the other examples. I know that some of our government organizations send folks through some of our trainings. I'm not as familiar with the government side, so maybe somebody else on the call is. But maybe it is, say you work in human resources and you want to become certified SHRM, which is the HR professional development and national like organization. And sorry, words are hard for me apparently today. But maybe it is going to get certified in that to become better at your job, add more tools to your tool belt, I'll say. So that you have additional skills to bring with you when you're ready to move to the next step. Maybe it is something that your whole team might want. Maybe, you know, you want to be able to, the organization wants to be able to offer something for the whole company. So maybe that's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And maybe they're trying to move more toward that as their mission and to better serve the people that they work with. So those are just some examples. And I know Heidi probably has others specific to, you know, healthcare and things that she was talking about earlier. But those are some of the ones that come to mind off the top of my head.
Yeah, I will add, Morgan, I don't know all of the programs that our government area offers, but I know they have a big one every summer, which is the Clerks and Treasurers Institute. And I did help with that one this summer. Basically, if you are in local government serving as a clerk or a treasurer for your township, this is a specific like week-long training that they do for those folks. So for example, the class that I helped out with was all about creating a budget and how to, you know, see the funds that you get from the government versus the local funds and so on and so forth to kind of break that down. So it's very, you know, specific to their need, but I know they serve quite a large number of clerks and treasurers in Wisconsin. So that's a very successful program for our government area. Also want to touch on, and I don't know all there is to know about the area, but another huge part of our division is our registry, which helps folks who are through DHS register their different trainings and professional education that they have to do. I don't know a ton about what they do, but I know they're very busy and they have tens of thousands of folks that they serve there. Megan, I don't know if there's anything you want to add on to the registry, because like I said, I'm quite new. I haven't been here a year yet. So I just know that it's a big team and they have a lot on their plate. So
yeah, I can add. So it's a contract with the Department of Health Services, and I think sometimes when the university does work like this, it's like, why is the university doing that? But it's a need in the community, and the existing, you know, what was being used to track the continuing education for healthcare providers wasn't working. And so it was a solution that was needed in order to support assisted living, community-based residential facilities, to really be able to support their work by helping out with some of those trainings and the tracking of the continuing learning that they needed to do in order to do their jobs. So that was a big piece, and that opportunity has really allowed us to continue to work with the Department of Health Services in a really great way and really find ways to solve problems in the community. And so that's, you know, part of the role of the university. So, you know, panelists, we've talked a lot about, you know, what are these different things that the university is doing? How are we looking at higher education differently? So now kind of the $1 million question of, how do you see UW Green Bay changing in the next, you know, 5, 10, or 20 years? What do you think like we're going to look like? What is it going to be in 5 years versus what is it going to be in 20 years? It's a big question. If we can solve this, the chancellor will be so happy. But yeah, excited to hear what you think about our future.
Well, I think like you mentioned, Megan, that is the $1 million question, right? And I think in many ways, it's a really difficult question to answer. Realistically projecting the future of higher ed in general hinges on so many variables. There was a recent Inside Higher Ed article that really cautioned institutions on extrapolating solutions from current trends because historical trends in higher ed rarely proceed in linear directions. So realistically, I don't know what UW Green Bay will look like or how we will change in the next 5, 10, or 20 years. However, though, I do think that we will like what we see as long as we continue to focus on access, equity, developing meaningful relationships with our partners, serving our community to the best of our ability, and continue to be innovative. I think those elements as guiding principles will, I think, really kind of keep us in the right direction with the correct momentum, if you will.
Gosh, I think Patrick hit the nail on the head, per se. It's hard for me to say what the next 5, 10, or 20 years looks like because every time I turn around, I feel like there's something new happening. I've been here for almost 10 years total, and gosh, it's looked so different since when I first stepped foot on campus to now, right? And each department is working so hard and so diligently to serve the populations that they serve that I think there are multiple different ways the university can change and grow and develop. But I think from our perspective in School of Business and in graduate studies, it is what are the needs of our community and how do we best serve that? So for example, before we started recording here, while we were all just kind of chatting, we talked about the NER, which now I know what it's called, the National Estuary Reserve Research something. National Estuary
Research
Reserve. There we go. And so like that is a program that is heavily focused on both environmental science and kind of economic development. And so there will be a lot of changes within the university once that's established that will better serve our community in both of those areas. What those look like, I don't know. I can't predict it. But I know that, you know, our university is really good at being flexible and adapting to whatever those needs are. And just as one other example, in the last 5 years, right, we've started the Resch School of Engineering. There was a big need for engineers in our area, and because our area is so heavily populated in organizations who are in the manufacturing industry, right? And so now the Resch School of Engineering has grown exponentially in their first few years. So I think as long as we listen to the needs of our community and the communities, the 16 county footprint specifically that we serve, I think it could change in many different ways, but I think no matter how we change, it'll be great if we continue to serve the way that we are.
I would say the same. I think if you're trying to predict the future, the only thing you can say for certain is that things are going to change. I think thinking about the generations, you know, like I said, I worked at an elementary school before I came here. I think of how much those kids have experienced in their short years of life and how on a dime we flipped from traditional classroom education to learning online with our youngest students. So I just think about how they will grow up in such a different environment. And it's funny to think that when I was a kid, we had dial-up internet, and I don't think we had our computer till I was 8, 9 years old. And I am not that much older than the college students. And I mean, even the elementary school students, just a generation removed. And I think how much has changed in my lifetime, how much will it continue to change? The world in general is changing. You know, we're, especially with the last 2 years, moving to how can we do things online? How can we do things in a different, you know, more efficient way? like I said, I certainly can't foresee the future, but I can just know that it'll be changing and it'll be meeting the needs of what the world looks like. I mean, who knows what things will come up, hopefully all good things in the next 5, 10, 20 years. But I know UW Green Bay will be ready. They've certainly shown to be adaptable to meet the world where it's at.
Yeah, thank you. I think the answer is as long as we're not stagnant, then we'll be okay. And, under our current leadership, that will never happen because it's always on to the next thing, and which is a really exciting place to be. So thank you, panelists, for sharing your wisdom with us. That is always so interesting to hear from different areas. Brian, I will pass it back to you.
Yeah, we just have a few minutes left. Thank you so much, each of you, for presenting. We truly appreciate that. Just want to open up for any questions that anyone on the call has for any of the speakers. Please just go ahead and unmute yourself, or if you want to put it in the chat box, you can do that as well, and I'll read it. As we are waiting for that, I have one question I'd like to just throw out there. Obviously, a lot of great opportunities for people to, again, have opportunities to be learners themselves, continuing wherever they may be. The other part of it is if you can share, I know some of the answer to this question, but not all, so I wanted to throw it out there, is just as far as alumni are concerned, what are some other opportunities for them to be involved either as a mentor or a volunteer with any of your programs? Whoever would like to.
Sure,
answer
I can chime in. I think my program in particular is an easy example. Lifelong learning, although I am the lady in the office, it is run by volunteers, truthfully. So I think alumni who are looking for a volunteer opportunity, this is a great opportunity for them. Like I said, the classes are during the day, so retired or semi-retired fits the best. But I mean, if you want to create curriculum, if you want to be part of our finance committee, if you want to work in the office with me, the front desk is all staffed by volunteers. So really, this program wouldn't exist without volunteers. Even the folks who present classes for us do it voluntarily. So I think my area is definitely always open and welcoming new volunteers.
I'll just touch on the mentorship piece. I don't know if this is still a thing. So Brian, I'm gonna shoot a question back at you. But I know when I graduated, I could sign up to be a mentor for a student who's newly graduated, who's just entering the workforce. So I'm not sure if you still do that. But through our School of Business, we also have a mentorship program for current business students. And I know that there are also other programs that do very similar things. I know education and human biology both do as well. But essentially it's just you sign up to mentor a student. Typically, like Megan mentioned, we serve a lot of the first generation college students. So it might not even be, regarding their classes, it might just be life skills stuff. And they just want someone with life experience to help them through some of the things that maybe their parents aren't able to help them with or aren't the best resource. And so from a mentorship perspective, there's lots of opportunities to get involved with current students and recent grads as well.
No, thank you both for that. And to answer the question, we had to put that on a little bit of a break, I guess, for lack of a better term, coinciding with obviously the little bit of lapse from the past alumni relations director to myself. We had tried to get something going with the GPS program. It just wasn't a fit for this year. It's something that we're going to look at as we move forward. So certainly want to make sure that and I'm going to be an advocate of that, of having a variety of mentor opportunities. I know the School of Business does this. I think that at least one or two other of the colleges have a formal mentorship program going on as well. So there's opportunities there that we'd love to be able to connect alumni to as well. So other questions that anyone has, any of the other attendees on at this particular point in time?
You kind of answered a lot of my questions in our pre-forum chat. So I really don't, Brian, but I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Not sure what I can do from North Tonawanda, New York.
Yep.
I'm here.
Great. No problem whatsoever. I'm looking forward to that. So if nothing else, again, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. As I mentioned, this is being recorded, so we will have this available for people to be able to replay, or those that hadn't had a chance to be able to view it at a later time. Please consider registering for any of our future Phoenix Forums. We try to do this on a monthly basis. The schedule for the spring semester starting January 19th will be coming out very shortly, and also signups for that. So again, that can be found on our UW Green Bay website and under Alumni Relations. And then also, again, if there are any other questions or you'd like to follow up on anything for the future with any of our panelists here, obviously you have the names, but certainly I can help be a conduit there as well. So if you'd like to email me at raymerb@uwgb.edu, or just our general alumni email address, alumni@uwgb.edu. And I see that as well. And I can certainly connect you to any of our panelists or to another university staff person as well. So with that, thank you all for joining us this evening. Again, thank you, Megan, Morgan, Patrick, and Heidi for taking time to speak with our group here today. So thank you all and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.